Here we're going to tie a fly called the killer Mayfly. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to start our thread and we're going to take off a long extra piece of tag end. We're going to tie that in right on top of the shank of the hook. And then we're going to take some Mayfly tails, also known as micro fibettes. I'm going to take 2 of those. We're going to tie these in right on top of the hook as well. We want to make these as even as possible. We want them to be roughly the length of the shank of the hook. Tie those right on top. And what I'm going to do is draw them upwards so I can see them. I'm going to split them with my thread. That way the tails will stay split for me. And then I capture that piece of thread once I have them separated. I could trim all this out of the way. You can see I have those tails split. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of micro tubing in black. I'm going to tie this in right along the side of the shank of the hook. Then I'm going to take my thread back forward. I'm going to take that tubing and I'm going to just wrap the tubing around the hook, placing each wrap right in front of the other. And once I get to the thorax area, I'm going to capture it. And then I can trim it out of here. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in the casing material, which is just going to be a piece of scud back, and I'm actually going to trim this so that it's a little thinner. I'm using 1/8 inch scud back, but I actually want to trim it so it's a little bit thinner than that. So I just take my scissors and trim off a little bit of it. Now I'm going to tie this in right on the top of the thorax here. Thorax is going to be about 1/3 of the length of the hook. Now we're ready to build the thorax, which is just going to be some olive dubbing. I'm tying a blue and olive colored killer Mayfly here, but you can tie these in brown, yellow to imitate PMDs or other types of Mayflies. I'm just going to try to build a little ball. Just add little by little. That way you don't ever add too much at once. And I'm going to take my thread to the thorax. Add a little more dubbing here, get a little rounder. Take my thread to the front of the thorax here and pull that piece of scud back right over the top. Secure it. Some nice tight wraps. Then when I trim it, I'm going to pull this tight and trim it. That way it sucks down nice and close to the hook. Now I'm ready to tie in the legs, which is just going to be a partridge feather. I'm going to cut out a little notch in the front of the feather here. I'm going to tie both these legs in at the same time. I just take this feather and I trim out a notch out of the front, so I have a little V. I'm going to stroke some of these feathers back. I don't want too many legs, so I have just a little showing of legs. I'm going to tie each of these in on each side. I'm going to pinch that feather on there on each side very tight. Then I'm going to do a loose wrap around the feather. I can just break the feather out of there. Then I can whip finish. That's all there is to the killer mayfly. Very effective pattern, especially on tailwater fish, picky trout.